A couple of our commissioners apologize for that. At this time, I would like to reconvene our December the 1st commission meeting. Is there any business that needs to be transacted out of that? There being none, I'd like to adjourn that particular meeting and call to order our December the 15th Jefferson County Commission meeting at 9:05. Ms. DiLiberto, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Evans.
Here.
Commissioner Knight.
Here.
Commissioner Scales. Commissioner Tyson. Commissioner Stevens.
I'm here. Thank you very much. Invocation is today is Commission District 2, and Commissioner Tyson is running a little late. Is Reverend Tracy Hips here?
All right. Good.
Reverend, would you? Yes, sir. Would you please lead us in a word of prayer? And Mr. Markle, would you lead us in the pledge?
Sure.
Let me just read a verse and then a prayer. For unto us a child is born, a son is given, and the government will rest on his shoulders. He will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. God, I pray that as the government of the world rests on your shoulders, this government rests on these men and women that you've called as ministers in this county with this commission. We pray you'll bless this time and this season. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much.
All right, salute, pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend. Commissioner, you have before you the minutes of our December the 1st meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, or revisions to those minutes?
Move we dispense the reading of the minutes and adopt them as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous. I'm going to skip the presentation right now because Commissioner Tyson is not here, and I'm going to go straight over to the public hearings. Public hearings, first we have is a TURFA approval for Gulf Coast Portfolio Project public hearing. This is for the issuance of bonds pursuant to Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, and in matters concerning Capital Trust Company. They are going to issue tax-exempt bonds. This is a statutory requirement that the Commission has to go through, and I would like to open a public hearing at this time concerning the TURFA. Is there anyone in the audience speaking in favor of or in opposition to this hearing? Commissioners, I see none. I close the public hearing.
Move the item.
Second.
Items have been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So there we go. The TURFA hearing is done. Next is the liquor license B22-006 Family Dollar Stores. Michael?
Yes, sir. This is a request for off-premise beer and wine license to be located at 1644 Forestdale Boulevard. This is a Family Dollar facility. In this general area, you've got several businesses that have the same sort of licensure. There's a Piggly Wiggly grocery store across the street. There are several gas stations that are at the corner of Heflin and Forestdale Boulevard, as well as a Dollar General that is on Heflin further to the south. And again, they had just requested this. A couple of years ago, they made the same identical request, and that request was denied, citing concerns about security and the property maintenance itself.
Okay. I'd like to open a public hearing B22-0006. Yes, sir. Are you want to speak in favor of or opposition to that?
I'm on the speak against.
Speak against. All right. State your name and your address, please.
My name is Dwight Studdard, 2188 Scenic Drive in Forestdale. I am the president of the Forest View Community Association. And a lot of my members have been calling me saying that they advertised this and nobody had ever heard of it until a couple of days ago. They said they gave notice to all the citizens, and if they did give notice, I want to know how did they give it. We didn't get anything by mail, never saw anything and posted. So I stand in opposition to it. Also dealing with duplication of services and possible increase in crime. I stand against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else speak in favor or opposition to this? All right. Name and address, please, ma'am.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I am Angeline Sperlin. I reside at 740 Suburban Drive, Forestdale, resident of Jefferson County for decades. I am opposed to the licensures for the same reasons that the president of the association just stated. I ask that before you vote, you give the citizens an opportunity to voice their individual concern. I served as the president of the Homeowners Association.
Thank you, ma'am. And one,
Let me ask this.
yeah.
The one reason was lack of notice. The second reason was, that I wrote down, was possible increase in crime. What was the third one?
The area limits at this point.
Duplication of services.
Is something that we have been trying to address for years.
I think the gentleman also said duplication of
That's right.
services. Is that correct?
Also, right across the street, you got Piggly Wiggly, who sell beer and wine, and you got Walgreens and stuff.
Yes, sir.
Jerry Foster. I stand in opposition. I live at 2101 Roberta Road in Forestdale, and I stand in opposition to this also. First of all, I would like to know who did they notify and how did they notify us? Because what I understand, they said they notified the citizens in the Forestdale area and nobody opposed to it. Well, I just found out about it day before yesterday, so I'd like to know who did they notify and how did they notify us?
All right. So, but you do stand in opposition to it.
Right,
That's the purpose of everyone that's spoken so far. How many do we have in the audience that are against this? Raise your hand, please. Okay. Thank you. So everyone has had an opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Public hearing is now closed. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Morrison,
Yes, sir.
can you tell us about the notice requirements of this and whether or not they were noticed?
Yes, sir. Everyone within, pursuant to the zoning regulations, everyone within 500 feet was sent a notice. Everyone within 500 feet of the facility was sent notice.
Yes. I would like to put a motion on the floor to deny the license.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Steedler-Burke will call the roll.
Commissioner Ammons?
Yes.
Commissioner Knight?
No.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes. So that motion has been denied, folks. So, appreciate that. Next we have coming up the zoning case Z220046. Now this is going to be interesting. Fabiola, Yadira, Marquez, Giron. How about that? All right, this is in Pinson, 4100 Pinson Boulevard.
Yes, sir. This property was rezoned to C1 commercial several years ago for a car lot. This property is located within the floodplain. At the time, for the car lot, they had entered into an understanding with the floodplain administrator that in the event that there would be a catastrophic flood, that the vehicles would be removed. Again, in this instance, we were transitioning, or they're requesting to go to industrial zoning. This area really doesn't have a precedent for industrial use. There is a small piece of industrially zoned property across the street, but however, that property is used for a car lot. This area is designated in the land use plan for medium to high density residential use, probably because prior to being rezoned to C1, this property was zoned for a mobile home park. And so I think that the land use plan, when they did that in the late 90s, was trying to reflect the current zoning and use on the property at the time.
Okay.
As it stands, it doesn't comply with the county's land use plan. There are several issues with having to, or the possibility of locating a business of this nature within the floodplain. And again, there's no other industrial use or within the general area. And citing concerns this could be spot zoning, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended denial.
Like to open a public hearing on Z 220046. Is there anyone in the audience in favor of or in opposition to this particular area? Come up. State your name and your address, please.
My name is Jesus Martinez, and I live on 1326 Stonehill Drive, Center Point, and I'm here talking in favor of trying to change to the zoning. One of the concerns that I heard they got is because it's on a flood zone, and what we're trying to do on the fabrication of the roof trusses, everything that we use can be elevated. The tables that we use to fabricate the trusses, they elevated from the ground, and we use pole barns to, we don't have like enclosed building, so just pole barns. We build it underneath the pole barn, and I got some pictures of what we typically do and the conditions of the job site. The fabrication of the materials and all that stuff. I can show you how they can be elevated with the water can run underneath the materials and everything. And also went and talked to the neighbors across the street. There's only 3 houses, and asked them to give me a signature if they will approve me to, if they have any concerns, and they told me they don't have any problems with that, for me to do any of that stuff. It's only 3 houses across the street, and I just want to see why I can use engineers to engineer anything for us to work against the flood zone. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Where is your business now?
Right now we go on Highway 79 on the industrial park, but we're paying rent over there, and that's kind of hurt us, right now because we started this business, and we're paying for 2 acres $2,000 a month, and we have this land that we can use right now, without paying anything. That's not doing anything right now. When we had a business there before, people came in and stole or catalog converters of the cars, so we lost a lot of money, by people stealing parts when we used to have the car lot. So we closed the location,
Oh, you had the car lot there previously?
Yes. We're just trying to find other ways to survive, Do
you own the property now?
My wife, yeah.
Okay. And you build?
Roof trusses for the school, churches, hospitals and all the stuff, No houses. It's metal, light gauge metal trusses.
How long did you have your car lot there?
We had it for about a year and a half. We closed it down because people are stealing, the car converters several times.
So you don't think they can get on the property and tote off one of your trusses?
No, they don't have no need, They can make no money with it,
Did you ever have any flooding issues when you had the car lot?
No, we never had an issue there.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public hearing is now closed.
Mr. Morrison.
Sir.
This, on the map, the flood zone is at the back of the property, or is the whole?
The whole property is within the flood zone. What you see on the back of the property is the floodway. That's the actual channel of water that's designated by the Federal Emergency Management Agency.
Do you have the depth of the water that gets in it? He's going to have to store materials and things.
Right. He would just have to. Anything that he would have to do would have to be permitted through our floodplain development permit, and they would have to be elevated above what they call the base flood elevation, which is that level.
Yeah,
so
if he goes up 12 inches, he needs to go up 16, 18 inches.
Correct. And then there's also concerns about storage of materials in the floodplain as well, because they don't want that to start floating downstream in the event of a catastrophic flood.
Is there any other use for this?
Floodplain property is generally best used for things like agriculture, park properties, things like that. You don't want to put a lot of obstructions within properties within the floodplain itself.
Yeah.
Ideally.
This is, I see a pole barn. Is that what and they're going to store the materials under the pole barn?
No, I got some pictures if you.
Let me see the pictures real quick.
And let me ask them a question. How long have they been there? How long have y'all been there on this property?
He said a little over a year with a car lot. I don't know about that.
You only been here over a year with the car lot?
No, we was there, we owned the property for over 5 years, I think, and we was there for like a year and a half, and we closed the business down there because, the people were stealing parts and stuff. Yeah, but everything that I show you, you see the table that we used to build the trusses, it's got a way for the water to go under the pole barn. It's just poles, and the material can be raised up with they call cantilever racks. They can be stored higher. So,
like you do for wood,
yeah.
Lumber yards
Yeah.
do that.
So anything if we need to do anything engineering or for the water to go under or anything, we can do.
So let me get my full understanding. They are willing to meet the standards for zoning?
They would be required to meet the standards.
Yes.
Right.
For the floodplain development permit. Yes.
So that y'all are willing to do that?
Yes.
So what's the problem?
Well, again, there's no industrial use or zoning within this particular area.
There is no houses anywhere except for the ones across the street. Like you can drive a half a mile to the left and a half a mile to the right, and you only see businesses, and across the street, the neighbors don't have any issues with that.
This in Charleston, right?
No, it's
Pinson.
Pinson.
Between Center Point and Pinson.
If the conditions, go ahead, Joe, it's your district.
Still in public.
Oh, yeah, we're still in the public hearing. I do want to ask a question. Are you prepared to make those necessary
Yes.
provisions that?
Yes. We lose
Okay.
the money right now. We can invest the money that we lose about, on this property. We rent it.
You're fine. Thank you.
And
I had a question,
to reiterate,
too.
Commissioners, they will have to get a permit through our office, and if they can't meet the requirements,
No.
they can't.
We
That's what
we
I
at least
thought.
want to try. I'm the man that likes to try,
Sure. And I admire you for that.
Me too, and I want to know why they are not. Are they given an opportunity to try to fix it?
That's up to us.
That's
what we're
So
Okay.
I have a question, Mike, and then I have a question to the applicant. Based on what I'm looking at, is that like gravel on the top, but is earth underneath?
No, this is somewhere else. This is the place that we rented.
Right.
Because they didn't allow me to do it. When I first started this business, I came over to the zoning department and they told me, yes, you could possibly do, but you have to raise the material. And later on, after I already had everything established to use that for land, I find out that they didn't allow me to do the stuff. So I didn't have no time, so I had to rush to find some place to rent. And that's what I did,
So,
So the
go ahead.
place that I got right now, it can be concrete or it can be gravel put on top, And right now it's a road that goes around it, and the rest is grass,
So, Mr. President, obviously we can ask questions at this time, but then then we'll open it up in terms of any commissioner to make a statement
Sure.
after you close it? Okay. I'll reserve my comments at that time.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll close the public hearing at this time.
Mr. President, I'm going to make a motion that we,
Can I speak before you make that motion?
well, you can speak after.
Okay.
I'm going to make a motion that we approve this zoning pursuant to him complying with everything that we need to comply with regard to the potential flooding. This is a piece of land. It's probably not going to be used for agriculture. It's vacant on each side. I believe in giving this man a chance to
Second.
do his business.
We have a motion and a second.
Mr. President, I'd also like to speak before the vote is carried.
Sure. Go ahead.
Mr. Morrison,
Yes, ma'am.
based upon the conditions that, am I pronouncing his name correctly, as in, is it Marquez? What was his, I want to pronounce your name correctly out of respect.
My name is Martinez. I'm the husband of Margaret Marquez.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay. Last name is what?
Her name is mine is Jesus Martinez.
Okay, Martinez. Come up here, please. So, the conditions, I'm assuming these Q conditions that we're talking about putting in place, these are basically standard Q conditions that would be asked of any.
Again, the conditions, bestowing additional conditions related to the floodplain and the floodplain permit's not necessary because that's already required.
Right. So we're not asking for anything in addition to what normally would be asked for. Am I correct? This is standard.
Yes, ma'am.
What we're asking of him.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Like I said, it's required anyway.
Okay. So I'm glad that we're moving in the affirmative, even though I was going to vote the way I wanted to anyway, which was affirmative mean yes, because I like your attitude. I appreciate your willingness to understand the process and your willingness to comply with the process. Didn't seem to me that you're trying to work around the process. And I want you to know, as this county commissioner, I appreciate that. Okay? Thank you, sir.
All right. Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It was approved unanimously. Okay. Case number 4, Z220045, Gary Wood Assembly of God. Or they want to, for down on Charles Hamilton Road, down in McCalla.
Yes, sir. This is a request. This is a rather large property. It does contain some single-family residences that front along Moore Cemetery Road. This property was acquired by Gary Wood Church several years ago and rezoned it to Institutional 1 for the purpose of a large church campus. Those plans never came into fruition, and they're basically requesting to rezone it back to a residential classification as well as an agricultural classification just for agricultural use this time.
Like to open a public hearing at this time, Z220045. Anyone in the audience? Seeing none, public hearing's closed.
Move the item.
Item's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Z220054, Milton Scott and Stephen Lovell Riddlesburge. We're talking about down on Eastern Valley Road, 3.34 acres from A1 to C1.
Yes, sir. This is a request for a construction of a hotel. This is near the promenade in Bessemer, close to the I-459 interchange. They have submitted some renderings of what it is they plan to do, a 4-story hotel. With this area being it's designated as general transition in the land use plan, and it is compliant with those policies, and Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval.
Okay.
You're going to have to reroute and rebuild roads in order to accommodate this?
I don't believe so. There may need to be a turn lane or something along Eastern Valley Road in the area, but
This is right by the shopping center, am I right?
directly across the street.
Directly across the street from the shopping center.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'd like to open a public hearing at this time, Z220054. Anyone in the audience speaking in favor of or in opposition to?
My name is Brian Presnell. I'm a civil engineer on the project. Address 1703 McConnell Lane, Mount Olive. Just don't really have anything to add, but just if you got any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
What size hotel are we talking about?
It's approximately about 100 rooms, I believe, 4-story.
And this is centered around having the hospital and everything down there. It's just that area is transitioning and moving.
That's correct.
Okay.
And
Thank
what's
you.
the name of the hotel?
Home two.
Has it been
Yeah,
Brown?
it'll be a home 2 suites.
Home to Sweet. Is this in Bessemer or McCall?
It's in McCall, because it can't be Vesper. We wouldn't be having a zoning.
Well,
It's us. They would have already had it done if it was Vesper, I'm sure.
okay.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Close public hearing.
Move the item.
Second.
Items been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? All right, they're approved. Z 220058, Van Mole Volvachil, owner. Okay, Joe. Request change of zoning from A1 to C1 for a proposed car wash.
Yes, sir. This is located at the intersection of highways of Pinson Valley Parkway, which is Highway 79, and Sweeney Hollow Road. This is a vacant piece of property that's sort of bound on three sides by roads. It's zoned agricultural, and there is a presence of floodplain on the property. Over the years, there has been some improper fill placed on the property that needs to be addressed prior to any sort of development. Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of this request with some conditions. One, unpermitted and unsuitable fill material must be removed, and suitable material must be placed on the site to elevate the ground above the base flood elevation before any site plan can be approved. Number two, review and approval is required by Fish and Wildlife due to potential of endangered species on the site. And then three, review and approval is required by FEMA to develop a FEMA-designated floodplain. And all this is, it's in a commercial area. It's not really a good property for its designated agricultural use or even residential at this point in time. You have businesses all up and down the highway right here. And that's why the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with those conditions.
Open
What
public.
is the unsuitable fill material?
That was just some fill material that was brought to the site itself, again, improperly and without any permits. And so because of that, I'm not sure what material it would be, to be honest with you, off the top of my head. I believe the project engineer is here. If he may not even know what material that is either.
It's going to be a Google car wash.
That I don't know. Okay, I'd like a public hearing at this time. Z 220058. Same guy?
It's me. Yep. I'm a civil engineer on this project, so if you got any questions.
Mr. Knight, your district?
Do you know what that unsuitable material is?
I believe it, in speaking with Jeff Gunner about this over the past several months, I believe there was a construction site down the road several years ago, potentially, that may have just brought some excess material and dumped it on the site. And so it was, I don't know if the material's bad, but it was placed there without being permitted.
Is you working with Jeff Gunner on this?
I am.
All right, then I don't have any problems with it.
Thank you. Close public hearings this time.
I'll move the item.
Item's been moved, seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Z 220059, Alberto Diaz Sanchez and Guillermo Mendoza owners. This is in Pinson also.
Yes, sir. This is just a request to remove split zoning. This property has split C1 and R1 zoning, and this would just bring the entirety of the property into one zoning classification.
And it's bringing it to R1.
Correct.
Okay.
Anyone speaking on this particular issue? Seeing
Good morning. My name is Guillermo Mendoza, and I'm here in my house. Address is 7481 Highway 79, Pinson, Alabama, and I have 6.96 acres. I'm on the land. What I understand, when I'm coming to get the permit for building a storage building on the back of my house, and sending me inspector, first thing, and the inspector come by, and the inspector called me on my phone when I work. He said, Mr. Mendoza, you need to come back to the place, the zoning of the place, because your land is divided in residential and commercial. So what I'm here for, I try to make it all residential. I can see if I can get a permit to build in my storage building. In
yes,
the
sir.
future, me and my wife decide added a room in my house, but not right now. But I don't have the money to do it. But in the future, me and my wife want to build another room and a living room added in my house. So that's the reason I'm here for, try to get it permit for build those things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How large are you going to build that storage room?
It's, the room is 15 by 15, and the living room probably 18 by 18.
Okay, but you said you was gonna build a storage
On
building
the
behind
back of
your
the
house.
Yes, on the
Okay,
back.
are you still gonna do that?
Not right now, but I'm trying to collect the money, you know.
Oh,
I don't
I
have enough
understand.
money to do it, so.
Understand, but the storage unit is gonna be for your personal use, not
Yes.
for some
Yes,
business.
for
Okay.
personal.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Public hearing is now closed.
Moved on.
Item's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Okay, any opposed? Unanimous consent. Z 220061, the Jefferson County Economic Industrial Development Authority, property that they have is changing the, to modify and remove existing covenants, for an appropriate development of the property with consideration of the public health, safety, and welfare relating to restrictions for building, for buffering and access to the property.
Yes, sir. This request was actually initiated by the county in order to remove these covenants. You see them on the screen. They mention things like a planted berm, and they get rather specific on what sort of buffering or what sort of mechanisms are to be there. And what has happened is, as we're going through and developing road widening plans along Old Tuscaloosa Highway to accommodate the industrial development of the Smuckers development, the likely development of other parcels and tracts further to the south, that these covenants are a little too specific and too restrictive. And what we'd like to do is remove those and replace those with a covenant that maintains a 50-foot buffer, but better use engineering techniques that are going to be site-specific as opposed to just draconian, the language that we have on the covenants today. The county engineer is here. Draconian, how about that? That was my word of the day today.
Oh, Michael, being fairly familiar with this, there's a berm out there now that sticks up that kind of separates the community from the industrial park. And my understanding is they want to remove that berm and layer vegetation in there to.
Well, now this is areas where there's not a berm. This will apply to areas that haven't been developed yet, and also the Smuckers property as well.
And basically, it will not require a berm.
Correct. We can accomplish the buffering from residential development across the street with just that 50-foot buffer as opposed to just the berm.
All right, my concerns, and that's my district, is are we making this better for the community, or are we just accommodating a development down there? I represent the development and the community, and they need to get along, and you don't need to put anything down there that makes it any worse than it is for them.
Right. Again, and the thing with that is that the requirement for the berm actually creates a potential for hazardous road conditions, and it doesn't help with drainage in the area like other mechanisms that we could use that we're restricted from using right now because of this covenant language. Okay. But yeah, the intent is to maintain and keep a buffer with landscaping, with using natural buffer, using planted buffers, all that from the view, and to protect the residents as well.
Are all of those in a covenant that we're going to approve if indeed we do?
Right. Staff recommendation here. Planning and Zoning Commission did not make a recommendation on this case. However, staff did recommend to change to replacing covenants 2 and 6 and replacing it with a 50-foot buffer shall be required along all portions of the development that is adjacent or across the roadway from residential properties. Buffers shall incorporate mitigating measures to alleviate impacts of the development according to accepting engineering practices. And that's, again, taking into consideration things that we want to do to maintain good drainage, things that we want to do to maintain good sight distance for access points, things that we need to take into consideration to protect the residents and to promote a good, healthy industrial development down there.
I would like to hear from the county engineer.
Yes, she's here.
Yes, sir. So this request initiated as part of, as we were doing the site design and study of that, what we realized was that the berms were causing conflicts with the proposed drainage. So there are areas that drain across that, and it's different as you come down Old Tuscaloosa Highway. So we have one area that down into the two natural drainages that flow out over that property. What becomes fairly problematic is as you get into the area with the flatter drainages, this has traditionally received these as part of a sheet flow. So we had the impacts and this kind of damming effect that was being created by the berm. And we also had issues where the proposed berm would be taking out areas of existing mature timbers. And so as part of the design or development for the current Lowtown project, we had identified areas where we want to preserve that existing mature timber, which is going to provide screening and take advantage of those features that exist to provide that compatibility, and also to use a designed approach to give a tiered buffering that allows for that visual screening 12 months out of the year, because we have to use a combination of treatments for the high and low visual impact. Typically when we talk about treatments for issues that we're trying to address, buffers have a use, but they need to be in the context of the topography and the things that we're trying to buffer. So there may be limited areas out there where we can use a berm or it is appropriate, but as just a complete treatment along the side of the road, that's problematic. So what we're proposing is that we modify the language to allow best engineering practice for each area as we're dealing with that topography and the specific drainage to ensure that the road operates, that we're not having to construct very expensive and difficult to maintain infrastructure to address these drainage problems and still achieve the intent, I think, with a better solution than just the one that was originally proposed prior to us looking at the newly proposed roadway project. So when these covenants were originally promulgated or considered, they were done so in the context of a 2-lane roadway. Our roadway projects are increasing this to a 4-lane divided with significant intersection improvements and other things that are really changing the character of the way that things are working out there.
Okay, so that was kind of engineering jargon. County manager.
The buffer will still be there. It's just this gives them more options on to do it either more naturally.
Can y'all hear back there? He can't hear, so stand up low.
I'll just reiterate, the buffer will still be there. This just gives us more options to either use the natural timber that's already there or other planting and that type screenings. And also want to point out we're spending, making a large investment to create a divided highway and a roundabout, which is much more better for the community than typical, 5 lanes with red lights and that kind of thing. So natural screenings will fit in much more with this type of boulevard type roadway that we're making a large investment to provide. But no, you're not taking away the buffer. You're keeping the buffer. You're just opening up the options on how you do it.
I'm going to ask you a direct question. You making it better or worse for the citizens?
I would say at least the same or better. I'm not making it worse.
Got your assurance on that?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, a 50-foot wide natural buffer is pretty strong.
Well, I think there's a lot more you can do with a 50-foot wide natural buffer than a berm.
Yeah.
A bunk,
Well, and I'd add, if you don't mind, that I think Old Tuscaloosa is really a straight road which allows for high speeds. The roundabout associated with this 50-foot boundary will slow the traffic down and not make it such a speedway going through there. So I think overall, I think it's improving that quality for the citizens.
Right. This is going to be, in my opinion, a top-notch boulevard. It looks really nice for a residential area. It will not take away. It will just add to the area, like the Trace Crossings Boulevard, that type thing. We're excited about it.
Morgan Road?
No, it won't be like Morgan Road.
Okay. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no.
We want to make sure. I live on Morgan Road, guys, and there's 18,000 cars pass my house every day, and I believe half of them are transfer transport trucks that makes it difficult. So I hear the citizens, and I want reassurance before we vote that it will not be something like that you are going to do what you can within our reason to make sure these folks
Absolutely.
are taken care of.
You've
Okay.
got our assurance for sure.
All right. Thank
And
you.
We're looking forward to making this one of the most beautiful roads and areas in the county.
Okay. Thank you. I'd like to open a public hearing at this time for Z220061. I have 3 people who have signed. Adrian, how are you?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's good to see you. State your name, your address, and your intentions, and I'd add my title to it if I were you.
My name is Adrian Dudley. I live at 7951 Gristmill Drive. I am the mayor of the city of Lakeview. My intention is to talk about this project or this proposal, simply because, even though we look at the draconian covenants, those draconian covenants were put in place for the people that live in the area. And I think that when we talk about the one that we're looking at right now, it does not specifically address some of the issues that residents in the area have. And I want to talk specifically about 3 of the covenants. Covenant 3. This covenant also includes Kimbrell Cutoff, which we did not discuss. We talked about Old Tuscaloosa Highway, but this covenant also includes Old Tuscaloosa Highway. Includes Kimbrell Cutoff. And the description does not identify why there would need to be changes to the covenant as it pertains to Kimbrell Cutoff. There are homes on the side of Kimbrell Cutoff. They're in our corporate limits. They're in my city. And these changes would directly affect them. If we have entrances and exits for industry on Kimbrell Cutoff, because we have homes right on the other side. And yes, there's a berm there. And I do understand that berms are probably not what we want to see. And I understand there should be some natural vegetation there, and there should be a natural barrier. But those trucks we're talking about, the industry being there, you're going to have trucks going up and down the road that are going to directly affect the people that live in that area, because the homes are not that far off of Kimbrell Cutoff. For covenant number 4, if the existing JCE IDA covenants provide a 70-foot building setback between any development and the right-of-way, then any alteration of this should include that same size setback for any development that happens near any residential areas. Again, when we talk about putting in buffers, we could also utilize, again, the Cali property at the end of Kimbrell Cutoff, where Kimbrell Cutoff meets Old Tuscaloosa Highway. There's a lot of space there on the corner, and that property could be utilized for parks or walkways, just like you do off Lakeshore Drive. And then when we look at covenant number 5, I would have to ask the question, why are we removing the covenant when it is in the description? Kimbrell Cutoff is not mentioned. Okay. It's my feeling that there should be something in place that clearly states that no access should be still allowed off Kimbrell Cutoff Road when we're talking about industry and trucks, 18-wheelers going in and out of Kimbrell Cutoff. Because as we talk, we're talking about things on Old Tuscaloosa Highway, but the covenants also include other roadways that are in the area. They also include roads that go around and near other residential areas. And we seem not to be paying a lot of attention to those things that also pertain to those people who live in those areas. And again, I don't understand why we can talk about development and growth, and I understand there needs to be growth in industry that comes into the area. I understand how beneficial that will be. But also, we're not thinking about the people that live there who have to drive 8 miles to a grocery store, and there's no idea about changing any of the zoning to put anything in commercial in the area, so people don't have to drive around these industries, around all these trucks and things like that, like we're talking about Morgan Road. We will have the same issue in that area. And we still have a growing area where we have more and more residents moving into the area. There's greater and greater development that's happening there, residential development that's happening in the area. There's more and more people moving in, so you're going to have more traffic. You're also going to have more school buses and kids going to schools in the area. And when you have that much going on, when we don't take into consideration those people and the places that they have to go, they need to go, then that's going to make things even more congested. So I think that along with this, we should consider, when we're looking at the covenants, being more specific, engaging the people in the community, because, again, the only way I found out about it is because my wife happened to see a sign on the side of the road at night, and we happened to go back, and our neighbors went and took a picture of it for us so we could find out what was going on. And when we talk about the removing these covenants, we're not just talking about Old Tuscaloosa Highway, as the county has discussed, talking about Old Tuscaloosa Highway, widening it, and the things there. This also includes Kimbrough Cutoff, so it also includes those subdivisions that are off there as well. And as you go further down Old Tuscaloosa Highway, there's also Arrowwood subdivision that's off there. None of these are in Lakeview, but I care about the community and the people that live in the community, not just the people that live in my city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, William Harris.
Morning, William Harris, 7780 Kimbrough Cutoff Road. I'm on right next to the property adjacent to the old Cowley property that goes along Old Tuscaloosa Highway to Kimbrough Cutoff. My main concern was the same one that the gentleman probably spoke about, is removing restriction number 5 that does not allow any access onto Kimbrough Cutoff. I'm not sure why they would want to remove that, because the only piece of property that they own is off of Old Tuscaloosa Highway with probably 500 feet on Kimbrough Cutoff. That'd be the only way they could put an access in, so I'm not sure why you would want to remove that restriction. You know, as far as the landscaping and burns, I was a little concerned about that as well. You know, I appreciate the comments from the county manager. I don't like the burns. You know, when they were put up about a year ago, until about 3 weeks ago, they were never cut. There were probably 6-foot weeds growing up in there. Curiously, that was right after the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. But so that concerns me a little bit. Also, there's been some, you know, one of the restrictions said no more than one access drive on the north side of Old Tuscaloosa Highway for the Smuckers property. Well, there's been 2 for probably 6 months. They just burned one of them over this week. So I'm just concerned that they have restrictions. They're taking away restrictions on number of access drives, which I don't think is proper for the citizens, because it will affect our properties there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one other has filed to speak. It's Erica Watson.
My name is Erica Watson. I'm actually speaking on behalf of Isabel Aguilar. Their address is 7584 Old Tuscaloosa Highway, and that's right across from Lakeside Farm neighborhood. And they got home a few days ago, and there were markings in their property, and actually part of front of their house, I guess it's going to be on the food, you know, whatever they had to cut. So they're really concerned then, like the front of their house will be part of the road, you know, then they need to build right there. So their house sits really close to the road, as you know, as it is right now. So they're just really concerned what is going to happen to their property. If the county is thinking about maybe buying that property from them and use that, because it's the market it is right now, part of the front of the house it has to be gone. So that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking? Mr. Byron.
Jim Byram, 7025 Lakeside Farms. As you might know, Commissioner Stevens, I've been involved with this since the very beginning. These covenants are promises that the county commission made to the community out there. And we're not anti-development, and we're not trying to create a situation where drainage can't be handled properly and that sort of thing. But when you look down this list, why would you do away with a 50-foot right-of-way on the railroad? That's one of the first ones you're going to do away with. And then, like these people talked about, you're doing away with restrictions on Lowtown Road and Kimball Cutoff Road. And those are rural roads that they don't need to have access off of them, and the residents or anybody along there needs to be protected by a buffer. The number of egress and ingresses, that could get to be a problem if you don't have some restrictions. The covenant that they're wanting you to adopt basically gives total discretion to the staff here at the county. There's nothing in there that says what type of buffer you're going to have. Right now, there's nothing out there but scrub pines and weeds and things like that. It would seem to me that we could take this a little slower, work with the residents to design something that says what type of plantings there would be, the type of screening it would create, and that sort of thing. And the screening out there doesn't necessarily just have to be across from residences. It needs to be screened all up and down through there. And right now, if you just left a 50-foot buffer, it wouldn't be screened. You could see right through it. The leaves are going to drop in the fall, and it's not the type of material that makes for a good buffer. I would wish that you would give time for the staff to work with the residents out there to develop acceptable covenants. Now, these promises were made by a county commission, and if we can't rely on the promises of that old county commission, then we can't rely on your promises either. So just let's take it a little slower. Let's develop something that really works for everybody and not just for the staff here at the county.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Each of these have made valid points. County engineer, roads and trans, is there a way that we can? Yeah, no, the public here. I'm asking her a question. Then I'm going to see if anyone else wants to speak. We're going to close it. Is there any way that you can visit with these residents and come up with a set of reasonable covenants for moving forward? I understand everyone here and that understands that we do need the development, and we're going to have to move forward with the building of that widening of that road. I understand that, but we need for our residents to get comfortable with what we have going on. Is there any way we can do that? Maybe a 2-week period or something.
Mr. President, could I ask something in between?
Yes.
So they had a lot of concerns. I'd like to see if the engineer could maybe answer some of those concerns first, and maybe relay. I know buffer was one of them. Access. The buffer, if my understanding is that it would be very similar to what JCIDA is currently doing within the park, and adding other buffer within the park. And just answer some of the questions that you've heard on each one of these issues.
So to address the road first, when the original JCEIDA covenants or restrictions were proposed, they were proposed in the context.
Turn around. They can't hear you, or go to the microphone.
They were proposed in the context of a 2-lane rural road. And obviously that facility has a lot of challenges, and that was well prior to any of the projects that we currently have in the area. The focus and work that we have done to improve those facilities and the projects that we currently have coming up have been to address traffic operationally for the whole road. So the traffic volumes that are generated by industry obviously are significant, and the approach that we have taken is what is most appropriate to operate traffic on that facility, taking those residents into consideration, what is safest, what is most appropriate, what is going to cause the least amount of conflict. The original intention was to provide for a limited number of accesses to try to control that, and there can be that can create issues based on the type of development that ends up ultimately occurring. Sometimes it makes it worse than if we had the ability to apply the appropriate engineering controls. So what we are proposing here is to be most appropriate for what is actually being developed and to consolidate those points of collection to the intersections, because if we start to put mid-block or spacing with high volumes of traffic in between those intersections, your intersections start to not function correctly. It creates more traffic, it creates more opportunities for accidents, it creates all sorts of problems. So the approach that we've taken, much like at Lowtown, was to upgrade that facility to the point that it would function appropriately, which was not the situation that existed at the time the original covenant was proposed. It was just a two-lane rural stop-controlled intersection. So the roundabout, the control, the right-in, right-out restrictions, those things are all designed to make sure that the flow as it hits Old Tuscaloosa is correct. The similar situation exists potentially for the Kimbrell intersection. So if you have a high traffic volume generator that sites and we locate that only mid-block, you can actually drive the amount of traffic to be higher than what is going to happen at that other intersection, and that would cause more traffic problems than it would benefit the residents. So the intention is to simply give us the opportunity to take the most appropriate and best approach to ensure that the facility operates correctly. And that could mean a slip lane, it could mean a clear right turn lane, it could mean signalized intersection, it could mean all sorts of things. We don't know exactly what that development is going to look like, which is what's causing some of the issues with trying to forecast what that's going to look like and how that it would be the best solution. Similar to some of the challenges that we're running into with covenants, you've got miles of roadway. And the situation on that center section where it's very flat and grades out is different than where we have a section that drops off the hill with the established timber. It's different where the drainages go through, and so really it becomes challenging to be highly specific. It's really about making the best selection for that particular point to abate what those impacts are. I will say that the 50-foot buffer and the 70-foot buffer that the park stack on top of each other, so you have a whole 120-foot buffer for the restriction of development all along that corridor. So the intention would not be for the 50-foot to then encroach onto the 70-foot.
Thank you. Is anyone else would like to speak on this issue?
Excuse me.
Need your name and your...
Eric Reese, 7959 Gristmill Drive, Lakeview, Alabama. You asked, the second part of your question was, would she want to entertain a meeting with the citizens? So she didn't answer that. So that's what I was kind of waiting on to see what her response would be. you asked her, would she entertain having?
I did. I did. When the public hearing is closed, I'm gonna make that request.
And going further with what everyone is saying, that, I mean, we understand the economic impact of these industries that we would have in Jefferson County for that part of it. But again, what about the citizens that are living there? So we live there. So that's why it's just.
Do you live in Tuscaloosa or do you live in
Jefferson County?
Jefferson County, okay.
Right next door to the mayor.
All right, is there anyone else in the audience? Come on. Mayor, you've already spoken now.
My apologies. One additional thing. And it pertains to, because we keep talking about, like as I mentioned, we keep talking about Old Tuscaloosa Highway and where Old Tuscaloosa Highway meets Kimbrell Cutoff. But I have a map that I got from the county's website that identifies that there's an attempt to get property all the way down to Kimbrell Cutoff, not just at the corner where the Cali property is, but an attempt to get the property. There's two swaths of land that one is 25 acres, I forget what the other one is, that's in the middle of Kimbrell Cutoff, that's right off of Central Park Drive. And this property is directly across the street from the backside of Ray Point and Tannehill Preserve in Lakeview. So when I'm talking about this, if that property is acquired by the county, then if we're just addressing something and we get rid of the covenants, we're just addressing Old Tuscaloosa Highway, and we get rid of the covenants as they pertain to Kimbrell Cutoff, then something can happen right there in the middle, right there where those homes are.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sheila Penn. I live at 7400 Gristmill Circle in McCalla, Alabama. And I just want to thank you guys for actually listening to our concerns. I live almost off of Kimbrell Cutoff Road. I have witnessed at least 2 18-wheelers in ditches. And I don't hear anyone talking about improvement for that particular intersection. I know the engineer said she can't forecast, but improvement in that area, if you're going to allow access, is definitely needed. And I just definitely want to stand with everyone that has spoken against the actual access to that area and improving. We want improvement for our area. I've been there 15 years, and I'm looking forward to betterment of the community, but not risking making things worse. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, we're closing the public hearing. Any comments from the commissioners? Do we have a motion to delay for public meeting with the citizens? So we have a motion to delay for.
Then you said that there's already a motion on the floor. You just need a second.
I'm just repeating the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Second.
All right, we have a motion to delay, and we need a date and time certain. To the first meeting in January. First meeting? I think they're. Yeah. First meeting in January.
Commissioner, we have a schedule for Old Tuscaloosa, and that will affect the schedule if we delay. We'll be happy to have public hearings with the people and review the buffering techniques that we come up with. In general, what we're saying is when you put a covenant on something before you know what's coming out there, you limit yourself to make the best for the community and what's the traffic. So that's what we're trying to do. But we'd be glad to get the citizens' feedback on the type of trees, the spacing, and provide drawings and get their feedback as we go along. And again, it's hard to just say it must all be this when you don't know what's coming and going where, but I just wanted to offer that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to delay. Do you still have that motion?
Mm-hmm. I ain't gonna kill them.
Ms. DeLaBerca, roll call, please.
Commissioner Emmons?
No.
Commissioner Hall?
Aye.
Commissioner Scales?
Well, let me.
Oh, to
let me
delay the
let
item,
me
yeah.
just
I thought that's what we're doing.
Hang on a second. What, Mr. Marker, you said this was going to affect something that you're doing on Tuscaloosa?
On Tuscaloosa and Lowtown, right, which we have commitments and schedules that we need to meet.
What, to do what?
For the Smuckers construction, they have to have an entrance on Old Tuscaloosa that's, you know, tied to the widening of the road and the roundabout.
I'll do what I have to.
It's not going to delay it.
Wait. Okay, sir, we're public hearing. We're discussing here. Can you do what you need to do if we let these folks have a chance to meet with you all to have a better understanding exactly what's what? Because sitting here, I don't think I was fully able to comprehend what we're doing. Okay, especially when it involves the Lowtown and these covenants and then the Lowtown. Will delaying this cause a delay in what it is that you need to do right now for Smuckers?
It will.
There's
3 or 4 weeks.
Could I?
Yes,
please. We have a meeting every other week with Smuckers for their concerns, discussing timelines on how quickly things can get done. We have guarantees in place that and benchmarks that we have to meet with the roadway, with the roundabout. That one of the gentlemen made mention of the 2 entrances at Smuckers. Those are temporary until we get the permanent ones in. So I understand what the engineer's saying, and I certainly get what the community's saying, the potentials on Kimbrell Cutoff and what that means. So I get both ends of it, but as the person that sits in on those meetings with Smuckers, those are timelines that we need to meet to get this done.
So, okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Ms. DiLiberto, would you call the roll?
Mr. President, Mr. President, I'd like to speak to the motion, all things being equal. If, seeing that obviously there is some great concern as it relates to the citizens in that area, would it not be possible that if a delay, with the understanding that there could be, since Mr. Chairman of Economic Development has indicated that they meet often, that if a meeting could be had, like an emergency meeting of such, so that there could be some additional consideration as relates to an ongoing project and also addressing the concerns of the citizens in that area? I'm asking that to you, Cal.
I mean, we could have meetings, but
You can have meetings with no action. Is that what you're saying?
what would we be meeting about?
Well, I mean, obviously, if there are concerns as relates to the citizenry, then I would think that we could at least have some considerations that they've asked to be addressed in some manner so that at least they can coexist together peacefully.
I think at this juncture, if y'all want to delay, we'll just have to figure out how to make up the schedule, and we'll delay and go meet with the citizens and try to give them a better, clearer idea of what we're trying to do.
But I thought we would be delaying with a time certain anyway, that we're not just putting a delay out there, it would be delayed with a time certain.
Right, which will be about 3 weeks. But again...
Let me ask you a question, Cal. And I'm going to vote the way I have to vote on this. You've got Christmas. You've got the holidays. You've got bad weather. If we put this off to the first meeting in January, you're telling me that is going to put you in a situation where you're not going to be able to make your deadline? If that's the case, I understand, and I understand that we're talking about taxpayers' dollars to make these improvements, and I know what the additional cost would be, and Jim Byron back there understands too. So I just need a straight up answer. If delaying will cost taxpayers dollars, I have confidence in what you do and what our Roads and Trans does. I'm looking for you to put that type of trust and convey that to the citizens of this area. I think that they will get on board if you give them an opportunity.
In light of the fact that most all the work we're doing for the roundabout, the widening the Old Tuscaloosa, so that we have a grass median instead of concrete, all that is for the neighborhood and the community to look beautiful and really, it's not for the industry.
I understand that.
And being they have so many questions, we're willing to take, it will delay our schedule 3 to 4 weeks. We have a little bit of time built in. We'll try to make that up, but, I'd rather have a delay, meet with these folks, see if we can get their buy-in and see if we can get them to understand better on what we're trying to do, and then come back. But after the first meeting in January, it'll be very critical.
First meeting in January. The public hearing has occurred. We have a motion to delay it to the time certain, will be the first meeting in January.
Mr. President.
Mr.
President.
Yes.
Let me ask this question. For the citizens that are concerned, that are here present today, is there anything that you believe, County Manager, that could not, if we table this item until we conclude this meeting, we recess this meeting, that could be addressed with them right now?
I don't think you can right now because we're going to have to get some drawings and some renderings. And, particularly on Kimber Cutoff, you don't know what's coming out there, how much traffic is going where, so we're going to have to kind of create some options so they can understand how that's affected. But it can be, I feel like we can do it in the next, we'll need a couple of weeks, and then before the next meeting, I feel like we can if they have time to meet with us. I feel comfortable we can get everybody on the same page.
What we have is that you've asked to remove the covenants, and these people don't know what you're going to do. That Jefferson County, this commission has always been good for its word. Previous commissions, maybe not so much. Okay. We want to be able, when we address these citizens, no matter what end of the county they're on, we want to be able to give them our word and be able to stand by it. And be able to say, if we're doing this and it's going to improve your quality of life, that's what we need to do. And I think that we need to have that type of confidence in our Roads and Trans, and you need to come up with some contingencies to so they will be comfortable in what we do. Okay?
Yep, and I believe we all have the same goal. We 100% want to maintain that community and what they love it. That's why it's so great. We want the industry. The traffic's coming no matter what we do. We're trying to make it work together. And since we have the same goal, I think we can make it work.
Okay.
Well, Mr. President, that's the reason why I mentioned, even though I know my colleague to the left of me is saying that you need to wait, but as in delay it, but I'm saying that you should be in a position that those who are concerned are present. And if it was possible, just based on what the president just mentioned, the fact that the county is good to his word, for his word, then that could be something that could be looked at now. I mean, you still have some presentations and you have some other things on the agenda that can be addressed. But, I mean, you all decide whatever you want to do. But for me, I'm talking about, expediency of the business at hand. It's obvious the project is under construction. Okay, and so we have a timeline in which we're dealing with, and the citizens are only seeking additional information so that they can have a peace of mind about how this project is going to impact them one way or the other. So, that's the only reason why I'm saying that, if you all choose to delay this item, you can do it. But, I get a sense of what's going on. So, if the train is moving forward, you just trying to get everybody on board. Well, then that's something that you can basically table right now and come back and, you all have that discussion. But again, you do as you choose. But I think it's not as difficult as we kind of trying to make it, Mr. President, even if it meant that we table it and come back and maybe by the time they come back, we may be even able to have the ability to move forward on this item today.
You talking about coming back in session today?
No, what I'm saying, respectfully, Commissioner, what I am saying is that you have citizens who are here, who have voiced what their concerns are as relates to the covenants and all of that. If the lack of communication is the issue, then we can table this item, move forward with the agenda, and then allow the county manager to have a conversation with them now. If at that point we can reconsider the item after tabling it, and if they think that they need additional time, then at least we would have at least taken their concerns under consideration, addressed it, and then they tell us what they believe will be better. They may go outside, come back in and say, hey, we have a better understanding.
To do that, Commissioner, that wouldn't be doing the remaining citizens that they represent right.
Okay, well,
They,
all right, Mr.
you have the mayor of Lakeview out there that needs to see his residents. If we address this on the first meeting in January and have that report, I think we would.
The goal that the citizens want.
Well, we already got a
Are you
motion
good
on the
with
floor.
that?
You got a second, and we ready to go call the vote.
Let me just.
You were in the middle of a vote.
Yeah, we are in the middle of it.
No, we're in discussion.
No, unless you're speaking to the motion, though, Commissioner. Other than that,
Well,
you got a motion on the floor.
Taking about 10 minutes. So let
Even
me
if I
just-
took 50 minutes, I'm just telling you this
Let
is
me
what
just
we
say
are.
this. About 25 years ago, when this park was created, I stood out there because my brother lived right across the street from it. And I came in and spoke for him and some other citizens. And they were in opposition because they didn't really fully understand what was before them. And we asked for the same thing, and we got dismissed, with a swipe of the hand. I don't want these citizens to leave here with the same feeling we had that day that this commission wasn't listening to them. So I am going to vote to delay this motion.
All right.
To the 3rd of January.
All right, to
Yeah, but we
the
already
first
had a
meeting in
motion.
January. Have a motion on the floor to delay.
Yeah, let's go ahead and call for
You
the
already
vote.
had a vote. I think.
Yeah, we can call for the vote. You already got a motion, you got a second. Let's
Millie,
move
Millie
on.
has 2 more
Millie?
votes to vote.
Commissioner Ammons,
No.
Commissioner Knott,
I'm voting to delay. Aye.
Commissioner Scales.
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson.
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes. All right, it's delayed to the first week in January. I would suggest county
January 10th and 12th.
January the 10th, January the 12th, because it's already had its public hearing. You get with the citizens, and I'm sure they'll get with me, and we will move on this on the 12th of January.
So the public hearing will be closed and not reopened.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
All right, that takes care of that. Let's do our 62 resolutions. Are there any? Next on the agenda is our resolutions 1 through 62. Is there any that Commissioner needs to pull for separate
Move
comment?
items 1 through 62, Mr. President.
Have a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have a presentation that they've been very patient out there from Commissioner District True, honoring Ramsey High School varsity football team for winning the 5A state championship.
I'm sorry to go. I got to run.
Swap out, we are.
Oh, really? Is that low?
Adam said he would get 5, Joe said he'll get 5.
How much you?
I get whatever y'all.
Whatever we got.
5.
I told her, I said, start
I'm not gonna do 5, but I'll do 3.
I bought clays
No,
a long time ago, but
you know, I did the same thing for Fairfield and Midfield. Jimmy, are you doing anything? You doing anything? You doing anything?
Yeah, we're doing anything.
As it relates to the school?
I did, yeah.
You did 5? Okay. So, thank you for this morning. Yeah, I had a tough time getting on in here. I don't know what was happening with the elevator, but yeah.
It was a.
But I at least want to say thank you.
Here you are, and here's your book.
That's not. I said what I meant. And I'm not afraid.
If I can get up.
You welcome. Anytime.
I think we're going to go out and do it outside.
Stop it. That's your way of saying that. Okay, I got it. Oh no, in other words, you're saying I need to. You're saying I need to hurry up and get something. No, but I get you. Are you? Greg.
But now, that yeah, they already registered. I did them all. It ain't gonna take long, boy. I don't do all that talking. Thank you so much, commissioners. I know everyone is leaving. Commissioner Skills, if you can give me two minutes, please. We have Ramsey High School, which is the season state champions. They won for 14 games. The losses was 2. They defeated Charles Henderson High School 41-20. Let's get them a hand up. Second championship in 5 years. They have 83 players. We have assistant principal Michael Kemp. Could you stand, please? That's of Ramsey High School. The Miss Williams is Dr. Williams is sick, right? Dr. Walker is sick, and she couldn't be here. We have school board Letitia Watkins, athletic director John Benjamin. We have the coach Ronnie Jackson. If y'all can all stand. We have Dr. Sullivan is the superintendent. And if we can have all of the mighty Rams stand.
Mighty Ram. All right.
Right now, you are looking at your state 2022 champions.
Bye-bye. Awesome.
We have a resolution. We have a resolution from the county for them, and I want to also talk to y'all right quick. They need rings. It's 83 players, right? 83 players. They needed rings. $33,000. I have a commitment from Commissioner Ammons for $5,000. A commitment for Commissioner Stevens, $5,000. President Stevens. Commissioner Knight, $5,000. Commissioner Scales, do you have a commitment? $3,000. $3,000 from Commissioner Scales, and the balance I will be paying the balance out. Commissioner Tyson. I want these young people to know, I know they've seen me over there doing my activist work with voters registration, with the school board person, Letitia. We try to engage community service into all of our work that we do. I want to thank the commission for recognizing these young men. We hear so much negative things about the public school system and the children, the young men in our communities. But I want you to know that these young men represent like all over Birmingham. They did not come from one concentrated area. They come from all over Birmingham. Thank you so much, Dr. Sullivan, for allowing this presentation, the school board, also, and the principal. I want you to say something, Dr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Commissioner Tyson and commissioners. We are so proud of our scholar athletes at Ramsey High School. As Commissioner Tyson indicated, these young men come from all over the city, and they represent the students of Birmingham City Schools. And I will tell you, they represent them very well. You know, we are getting ready in Birmingham to work on a strategic plan, and one of the things that we say in our strategic plan is that success starts here in Birmingham City Schools. And this is an example of the success that you see every single day in our school system. So thank you for this acknowledgement. Thank you for this resolution. Our boys, and I see a few ladies here as well, are very proud, and they represented Birmingham and they represented Jefferson County very well down at Auburn in their victory over the team they defeated. And in fact, one of the students who participated in the game broke a state record. He ran for 5 touchdowns. Well, he tied a state record, ran for 5 touchdowns and nearly 300 yards in that game. Amazing, amazing students, and they represent the best of Birmingham City Schools. Thank you.
On behalf of our principal, Dr. Walker, administration, we do want to thank you all for inviting us. Again, it's been an honor to coach these young men. I've been blessed and just thankful. These are some really good men. I want to also thank their parents because for raising some really great guys with character. Again, it's our job to make sure we try to mold these young men up so they can be those leaders in their community. So just want to thank you all again for this opportunity. Thank you.
And I would like the commissioners to come down where we can actually get a photo right quick. I would like for y'all to just move in, everybody just come together like right.
So Commissioner Tyson, while you getting them together, let me say this: you all had a student on school just ended last year, Kylan, and good thing about Ramsey High School is the fact that you all are scholar athletes, and I'm really excited for you just because of the fact sometimes people count Birmingham City Schools out. And the fact that you all have done extremely well, I just wanted to be able to say to you, I kind of briefly said something to you out there, but just real excited for you today. And I don't think you're going to struggle to get those rings paid and nothing else paid. Everybody loves the one with the W on his back. That's called a winner. So you all are champions, and we just thank you for everything that you bring into the county.
Want to come down for a photo?
Guys, I did
Just go home. Hey guys, I'm gonna take 3 quick shots. If you can't see me, I can't see you. So make sure you can see me. Here we go. One more. Okay, got it. All right. That's it.
Thank y'all.
And County Commission District 2, earlier we gave Ramsey High School $25,000 on some infrastructure work for the school.
I guess.
I didn't like your
My goodness. I officially recessed. I officially recessed for a year. Okay.
I didn't know. Yeah, look here.
Merry Christmas, guys. Maybe 3 steps.
So I would suggest anything that you have in the workflow, I would just put up on it if I could so lucky. I don't know how much I'll have to come here next week, so, and get with it.